All right, guys. Welcome to episode number 6 of Texas Gulf Surfer. We got our first guest here today, Dudley. So
we do, man. Let me introduce Austin real quick. I mean, myself, Jeff DiNicola. Always a pleasure to welcome Austin Campbell, my king of Surfside, my wingman. Welcome, brother. Go ahead,
appreciate
man.
it.
Talk to Dudley, man. I'm loving it.
I'm so excited to be here. I'm Bryan Dudley, or everybody calls me Dudley in the water. Jeff calls me the commish.
He is the commish,
There's
yes.
a long history behind that, but before we get started, I got a little gift for y'all.
No way, our first podcast.
Yeah,
This
so
is epic.
right on. Well, it sounds like we're gonna have. Hey, the next guest, they have a lot to live up to now.
that's why I did this, so they
Just
can.
set the precedent.
Yes, yeah. So you see who one ups each other, but it's something small, but it's a little Texas Surf Cartel.
Unbelievable. Look at that,
man.
ladies and gentlemen,
Little,
boys and girls. Epic.
yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
so-
Oh man, that's
There you go.
awesome, man.
Hand wash them;
Yeah.
they work better that way.
That's gonna be great for our coffee, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
You know, this is probably not going to be a news bulletin, but you are the admin and the creator of Texas Surf Cartel, which, in my opinion, is the most popular and well sought out site and page out there. I mean, everybody goes to the thing, and I love it, man. How did that get started? I'm just curious.
Well, the name came from a couple of different locations, and one of the things was it was kind of a running joke years ago, but people know my background. I was in gang intel and I investigated cartels from Mexico. That was when I was undercover and stuff like that. So that's where the cartel part comes from, and we thought it was a funny play on words because I am, a police officer, 30-year police officer, and every time we go somewhere traveling from Florida, California, Carolinas, Georgia, Costa Rica, a bunch of Texans get together, and they're like, man, you guys are like the cartel or something. So it stuck, and that started happening in high school, believe it or not. And then, so it's just kind of weird how it all played out, and being the 5-0
Right.
cartel.
Now we got the Texas Surf Cartel. So, but it is. I mean,
Yeah.
as far as like, I used to do a surf report every morning all the time and kind of go out. And then a lot of people started doing it. Now people ask me, I said, man, just go and log on to Texas Surf Cartel on Facebook. Somebody's out there, Ched, or somebody's out there posting a surf report. So
Sure.
it kind of makes a great, I mean, everybody can go, like we were talking about, everybody can go to those sites and look at, but there's nothing like an on the beach surf report.
True, and another thing, like my schedule's quite open like yours, and we're always in the water when there's waves, so somebody's always posting something. We're kind of territorial also, so that's another thing with the cartel. We don't put out reports weeks in advance because we don't like crowds.
Yes.
I'm kind of snobbish. I admit I don't like crowds.
So
but
you keep your swirly tops to yourself till the last second?
swirly tops.
Yeah.
Ding. We need like a little dinger. Ding. Swirly tops.
I mean, I guess, that's what, I guess we should talk about some swirly tops because the surf looks like it's going to get pretty good.
Yes.
So
Tell us about it.
So it's looking like, what do we got? Tuesday, Wednesday into Thursday. Looks like we're going to have some pretty decent surf all the way down the coast. We've looked at, man, I think there's a front coming. What day is the front coming
I
through?
think that's Wednesday.
Tuesday night, Wednesday morning,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah. So it looks like it's going to build, all through the beginning of the week. Tuesday's going to get pretty big. Looks like that front's going to come through. So, I mean, I guess it's going to be like, who's going to get in the water first, me or Johnny? Or
Yeah.
Dudley.
Johnny's usually beats me here, but there's sometimes I like to challenge him. Everybody knows Johnny McGee. I like to challenge him, and I like to get up a little extra early and beat him here. I think it kind of aggravates him sometimes, but I do it on purpose.
Love it.
I love Johnny. I mean, that guy's the most
Dedicated guy.
Oh my
geez.
gosh, he paddles out for every.
So he lives at least a couple hours away from here or so.
Hour and
I
probably
live,
10 minutes,
And
yeah.
I live like a 1 minute drive from the jetties. And man, even when I try to beat him, he beats me. So
Yeah.
I have beat him before a
That
few
dude will
times.
stay out longer than anybody. It's
Yeah.
absolutely crazy.
For his age, I hope I'm still surfing. I
Me
mean, not
too.
to knock the
Amen,
guy,
brother.
but man, I mean, he's 72.
Yeah.
Am I wrong, Johnny?
Phenomenal athlete, man. I'll
Yeah.
tell you. Just a real quick bumping down the coast, man. They're getting the same swell that we're going to get from Stefan Lewis. And I apologize. He did a great soundbite for us, but it got misconstrued or lost in translation. But it's kind of funny. He was just kind of telling us when a guy from Corpus Christi says Wednesday morning, Matagorda might be good. That tells you something. So he's down in Corpus surfing hard beach breaks all the time, and he's kind of giving us the forecast. They're going to do the same thing, waiting for Tuesday, Wednesday. Then they're going to get some good and favorable winds. They're predicting March to be real consistent. But man, he planted that bug in my ear. He said, "Man, Matagorda might be good Wednesday," and I'm kind of kicking that idea around. I don't know.
It's
a fickle spot.
When it's good,
Yeah,
it is
man.
good, but it is fickle, man. And you know what, too?
It is.
Like, it's photogenic. So sometimes you can take some really pretty pictures, and the waves weren't as great. But man, let me tell you what, if you get it right, so
It is tricky and tricky, and I just don't have a four-wheel drive. If I had a four-wheel drive, I'd be a lot more confident, I think, about going down there because I don't really know about the parking and the whole thing.
Well, because the entrance is the sand soft, and if you go to Shell Banks or even further down to 6 Mile or other places that we go down there to get away from the crowds, you got a four-wheel drive most of the time.
Yeah,
so.
100%. And so, man, you were talking about your flexible schedule, and a lot of people don't know. If they do not know, he has already told you about his career, man. This guy's got multiple decades. Him and his wife are highly decorated, again, multiple decade law enforcement professionals. A lot of people don't know this, but back in the day, Dudley and I got to work together for a short period of time back in Pasadena back
The
then.
90s?
Yeah, that was, they called Friday night, Saturday night, the Gun and Knife Club in Pasadena. And we had a lot of fun back in the day.
Different times, brother. Different times.
You reached heights that none of us could get to, but we're very proud that you serve our community
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the way
we-
that you
well,
do. So
for
thank
sure.
you very
Thank you,
much.
we appreciate it for sure.
To all
appreciate
first
y'all.
responders.
Yeah.
So, hey, I just want to ask you something real quick. Last week we touched on etiquette, safety. You're like the perfect guy to ask some stuff about, right?
Yeah. I think that it's kind of been our running
We wanna end
topic
it.
running our topic for a couple of shows, and I think we want to end it. But there was a bunch of people sending comments, and a couple of people mentioned some other topics of jumping off the jetties and. What else was it? It was jumping off the jetties. Somebody was.
paddling
I
out,
think
leash
Mike
etiquette.
Myers was mentioned to me about. I think a lot of us notice that you have those guys that come down that. And look, like I said, we want everybody to surf. We just want everybody to surf safely
Right.
and know what you're doing. I'm not going to go jump on the racetrack at Daytona and crash some guys, because I don't know what I'm doing. So you don't want to come down on those days where, like, if you got a surfboard and you surf once or twice a year and there's like a hurricane and you're going, no, man, let's go surfing because there's a hurricane because I don't know, I guess maybe people think there's not surf any other time here. That's not the day to go surf when you haven't surfed all year, or you don't surf very much. So I think that's one of those things that that we hit on. We should tell those people, hey, we want you to surf, but it's dangerous for you, it's dangerous for us, it's dangerous for other people. And the people might have to save you if you're out there on those days where you go out once or twice a year. Go out in the summertime when it's small and not those big hurricane days. You know what I'm saying? I think you've experienced that. You've seen it out there, right?
Oh yeah, we especially like Galveston. 'Cause I surf Galveston and Surfside, depending mainly here Surfside. But the jetties have those rips and those guys. Oh, we're gonna have big waves in Texas finally, and they come down thinking they're gonna score perfect waves, and the rip rips them out 300 yards, and they can't get back in. So I mean,
Which just happened in Quintana.
Yeah.
Well, the last big swell we had, some of our more experienced, I almost had to call the boats for some of the guys that surf all the time. And I'm not going to name names, not to embarrass them, but it was a struggle. They paddled it for like an hour to get in.
Yeah, it's voodoo currents over there. And, we sent the Coast Guard to pluck two guys out.
I heard
one
that.
of those swells. Yeah,
I heard that.
It was just a group of us happened to be sitting there. It's how dangerous it can get if you're not a strong paddler. They got taken out to sea, and we told the Coast Guard to go out to the jetties and go southwest. You'll find them, and they did. And that's just kind of the way that went down. But man, what's your quick take on, I guess for beginners? And the reason I ask this is we're getting a lot of people. We think it's all guys that got multiple years of experience, but a lot of people tune into this podcast, is that right, Austin, that they are beginners and they want to know the beginner thing? What would you tell a guy or a girl?
The main thing is just check your ego. Like, check your ego. And I hate to say it that way because we all have egos, right? I mean, I do, we all do, and I'm real territorial, kind of, like you said earlier, the old enforcer guy. No beat downs here like Hawaii. We don't do that. But I will say something. I'm very vocal. I'm like, hey, bro, what are you doing? Like, and if I could educate someone to keep them safe or maybe teach them something, that's kind of where I come in with that nickname, the commish. Yeah. But that's my main thing. If you see a bunch of guys, I mean, you can even ask them. Don't be embarrassed. Don't, like I said, check your ego. like, hey, you surf here a lot? Like, yeah, what's up? And then,
That's
you know, like, hey, don't go by the jetty, or hey, go down over here. And, you know, I think advice from senior guys is golden, because, you know, we've had certain people that have blasted stuff all over Facebook, like, come on down, everybody surf, but they're not giving them where to surf or how to do it or what kind of board to ride, or everybody thinks they're going to pick up a 6'2" surfboard and yeah, I mean, if I'm wrong, correct me, right?
You are
No.
not.
Everybody
You
thinks
are
they're going to
not.
get a 6'2" board with low volume, and they're going to catch air 360s and do Kelly Slater off the list.
That happens.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what, as being a surf shop owner and a board builder, man, I have so many people come in. Now, you know, building boards, a lot of times you have people, you more experienced people, so you don't have that as much. You know, it happens. But the shop, man, you have people coming in and they want to ride a shortboard because they saw these guys on TV riding a shortboard, and we're like, hey, man, you know, have you ever surfed? No. You know, do you do any water sports? No. I just want to do like this guy. I'm like, well, you need to get this board first. You know, try this. Then you can, you know, slowly go down. I'm like, but it's going to take you a couple years to get to be able to ride that. And let me look. I mean, there's tons of guys that are super experienced surfers out there in the water, and like some of them never ride shortboards, right? And if they got on a shortboard, they probably wouldn't be able to ride it out here. So I mean, it takes, you know, not everybody can ride a shortboard out here, you know,
No, it's
and it's gonna
difficult.
and it takes years. So I mean, like, when did you I mean, how long have you been surfing? Where'd you start surfing at?
You know, I was born and raised in Texas, and then a little Florida stint, and I started in Texas because my uncles and my mother surfed, believe it or not.
Excellent.
Yeah, the old school, but they weren't like mad at it like we are. I made it a lifestyle. But we stole their longboards, west end of Galveston, you know, and used to try to ride them without leashes, and the stuff we did was just unbelievable that we were that mad at surfing. And just like, I know this is going to sound kooky, and forgive me for this, but that stupid movie North Shore, and this is just a good, I think, for beginners. Go watch that stupid movie and remember the guy from Arizona pool champion.
Rick Kane.
Ricky, yeah, Rick Kane. Okay, right. I know it's kooky, and you can call me a kook. That's fine. I've been called worse, but you know, the funny thing about that show is that surfboard builder is like, he wanted to ride that little bitty performance board, and he was like, nope, you ride this heavy log, and you learn how to ride that log good, and then he
That's so
trimmed
true.
him down. It is true, and it's just like, the only way I can correlate a surfboard builder with guys coming in, hey, I want to ride this board, is like tattoo artists. You have something in your mind, you go to a tattoo artist, and they're artists, and you say, hey, this is what I want.
Right.
But if you let them be artists, the product's going to be better.
No doubt.
Same thing with surfboard builders, I believe. You kind of tell them what you want,
Yep.
and you just leave it to them. And because every time I've tried to tweak a board and give them exact dimensions, the board doesn't work.
Man, you were spot on. The last board he
Thank
made
you.
me, I said, here's my height and weight, just make it happen.
So yeah, I mean, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to
You can plug. Go ahead.
plug
Shane.
myself here,
Go,
but
go.
Plug,
for the
plug, my,
plug.
plug my last board.
how is that?
Let's
How
plug it.
is that board? You know, you just took it. You just took it to Costa Rica.
You know-
I want to tell the story first.
Please
right?
do.
So
Please do.
So I get a call. We just finished this fish from Dudley, you know, and when it took us a little while, but we got it all done. And you did want some EPS foam, right? Right. So you wanted. So we mostly do. We use a lot of poly, so we wanted some EPS foam,
Right.
and we just didn't want some like cheap EPS foam. So we got a good blank and everything. So he called me up. He said, "Hey man, there's something about the board I want to talk to you about." I was like, "Yeah, what is it? Is there something wrong?" He said, I said, "I don't know." I said, "Do you think it's the fins, the fin placement? I put it in a certain spot." He said, "I don't know, man. There's something wrong with it. It's just when I take off on the wave, I'm paddling, I stand up, all of a sudden it takes off real fast, and I start going off the
figure.
lip and doing turns." And I said,
Go
"Oh
figure.
man, there's definitely something wrong with that thing."
Yeah, get your money back.
Return it immediately.
So how did that? Did it go good at the in the surf trip?
You know, and I'm gonna. Yes, it was. It's one of my favorite boards actually, and
Good.
I got to give Psycho Surf a plug.
There you go.
And I don't want to. I want to be a jerk right now.
Well, I'll tell you.
I want to make fun of him.
I do too. I get to do that daily. But you know, one thing I know about you, or did know about you, I should say, I knew you were a pretty efficient surfer and good. And then I got a chance to go to Florida. We went on a trip, epic strike mission to a tropical storm in Florida. And I've never really seen you on heavy waves of consequence. You're a good surfer, dude. You can.
I appreciate
you
that.
slicey and dicey, man, on that little thing. You stayed out longer than anybody,
Well,
which is crazy.
well, I have a lot of endurance, and I will surf for a long time. I think I'm an okay average surfer in my eyes. I have fun. I have bad days, good days. I had a real bad motorcycle wreck.
Yes, we were
4
praying
years
for
ago.
you. Yep.
Yeah, I was almost killed in a wheelchair, and got back to walking and then surfing again. So there's still some issues I have with my pop-ups and stuff. So sometimes I look like a kook out there quite a bit, but it's okay.
No, we all do.
The best surfers are the one having the most fun.
Amen.
That's what they say. That's what they say.
Yeah,
Of course.
amen.
Yeah.
Yeah, now one thing, Austin, you pointed out was really good, and that is that any surfer can look on CNN or Tropical Update, that kind of thing, and you see the big, there's coming into this time of year, tropical storms are coming. We're looking at it, and possible hurricanes, and anybody really that's within strike distance of the Gulf Coast will see that and go, oh, let me break that board out that I hadn't broke out in 3 years, and I'm going right out to where the Mac swell is, and that's dangerous.
It can be.
And again, we're kind of like not monitored by any kind of safety. We create our own safety and rules, but
Yeah,
tough,
yeah.
man.
I mean, and like I said, there's not ever going to stop being new surfers, right?
We encourage
there's
that. We
always,
want that.
I mean, no
Right.
matter where, and even places that are like, we don't want a new surfer. There's always going to be new surfers. So what we try to do is like the best thing for them and us is for them to be safe out there, right? So we try to tell them, hey, go to these spots and do this. I think Danny Terry the other day, he said something I never really heard anybody say, and I don't know, I just didn't think about it. He said, I went down and found a spot by myself, and I just enjoyed learning how to surf.
Amen.
And I was
Right.
just like, man, I don't think enough people do that, maybe, because I think people just, maybe their friends surf and they're trying to keep up with them, right? And they're just not going to. Their friends surf for a long time, or they see these other guys surfing, and maybe they just, kind of like you said, check your ego a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the other day when I said, if you can go out in something, like you see a wave and if it's too big for you, or
Absolutely.
if you're new to surfing, you can't surf that stuff. So, man, do what Danny said, man. Go get a soft top and find a spot by yourself. When you're learning to surf, like, let's be honest, when you're learning to surf, you don't really know the difference between the outside, the inside, the middle break, the bite water, right? I mean, so
That's true. Right.
So,
that really ponies on to what Steve Hirsch, one of our friend of the shows out of Galveston, he's a daggum artist and a photographer, and he kind of said, I said, I mean, what would you tell a beginner? Kind of what everyone said. Get a soft top, make sure you have a leash, go down the beach where there's nobody, and learn. And it seems pretty simple to me.
It is simple. There's something touching on that, going back to people coming down and surfing. I got to call out some of our Californians that are ex-transplants now that are Texans. Got Dan Beeman. God love him, right? Dan Beeman.
Yep.
I know you're going to watch this, Dan, so I'm making fun of you right now, but
Great guy.
mad respect to that guy. He is a great guy. Oceanside surfer, grew up surfing heavy local break. He's a local there, moved to Texas. He came in he checked his ego. He came in and met people. He didn't drop in on it. He knew the etiquette of the local lineup. So I know we got off that, but
no, I mean, that's a big
No,
thing.
that's huge.
and there's guys that come from the West Coast or Florida. I've seen a few of those, or even the Panhandle that come over, and they just think they own everything. And it's just like if you go into a club somewhere, the locals are there. You're not going to come in there and start beating up on everybody.
Right. You
So-
got to work your way in.
Yeah, and so along with the beginning steps is just respect. It's all about respect.
It truly is. And
Yeah.
I wanted to fall back because Austin and I were talking about this week and get your feedback on it too. And he had some great points. Inexperienced surfers are going to follow an experienced surfer to that jetty right up next to the rocks because they're seeing everybody get what they think is the easy ride out. That is the most tricky son of a gun. I've been surfing for multiple decades. I got hung up on that jetty 2 years ago when I thought I had it right, and Gil Romero's right there. And look how cool I am going on out. Man, I got dry reef. Next thing you know, I'm on that daggum jetty, and I think it poses a danger to new surfers. But they're going to do it.
They're going just like jetty jumping.
Oh, that's another thing. Tell me about that.
Directing traffic, one car turns left, everybody goes left, right? So you see surfers walking out. Guy's never done it before. He doesn't know how to place his feet. I don't jetty jump anymore. I did when I was younger.
This
But-
biggest local around, he don't even jetty.
No.
Why is that?
So that's what I was saying
Why
the other
is
day.
that?
I'm like, well, I retired undefeated. So
the
I'm not.
champ.
So I'm not like I am not. I mean, like I had a couple scraped toes or something. You know what I'm saying? But I never
Yes.
crashed anything. But it's dangerous, right? Now, I mean, surfers, we do dangerous stuff. So somebody's going, oh man, that's don't be a weenie or whatever.
Right. Well,
But,
Scott Canna.
Yeah.
He's experienced, good surfer, and what's good about him, he's just natural talent. He hadn't been surfing that long, but he damaged his leg, tore ACL or something. I can't remember what he did, but he did that jetty jumping. And
The thing is, sometimes the conditions change out there. There could be a slimy rock that's not normally slimy, and you could hit a different spot, or I mean, anything could happen.
So both of you guys would not encourage beginners to do a
No,
jetty
I
jump
wouldn't.
at all.
I would absolutely not encourage a beginner to jetty
Yeah?
jump. I would say I feel like this now. If you can't paddle through the waves to get to the outside, then you may not shouldn't be out there.
That's true.
I always say that if you can't paddle, don't go. That's I mean,
And I think you said it perfectly. Check your ego.
check the ego.
Right, 'cause-
We'd much rather have you around than get hurt, or better yet, get back to the beach and get into a beat down with each other, which doesn't happen like Hawaii and other California breaks, where there's a lot of egos. But, you just, like I said, I'm not going to go to Pipeline tomorrow at 6 to 8 foot surf and tell those guys, oh, I'm going to catch a. I mean, you just don't do
it
that.
don't work that
No,
way.
it doesn't work that way.
And
So,
it is quite funny. But how do the heck you get out when it's breaking what I call the third reef here in Surfside, which is third sandbar? Because, it's a good 300-400 stroke, because I count. To get to the outside, it's 300 full-blown strokes.
I mean, you're riding what is that board? Is 7?
well, I have 6'10s, and that's like 6'10 and a half.
Yeah,
So
something like that.
I mean, I do have a longboard that comes out occasionally, but in the summer. But it's
And you still duck diving that board?
I'm a big boy,
Yeah.
so I can duck dive.
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay. So that's what a lot of people, we build a lot of those 7-foot fishes. That's kind of a thing. Like back when, me and Cunningham and Les and guys were building over at Les's house.
Yeah.
Back in the day at the Speakeasy. Shout out to Speakeasy Board House back in the day.
I remember.
We did. Cunningham and me were doing a lot of 7-foot fishes, and because people wanted to fish and they wanted a longboard and they didn't. So that 7-foot fish style board really works good here. But a lot of guys they can't duck dive it, right? And then the only other problem is, can you paddle it over some stuff? So that's the only thing is. But getting out in Surfside, other places it's easy. They don't have to worry about that, right? They just even like Matagorda, even Galveston, the outside's not as far as Surfside.
Right.
Padre has got some pretty.
Man, I
pretty
got
good
respect
spots, but-
for shortboarders in this state. I mean, y'all got patience, and I bet it drives you crazy when you're sitting where you got to be to catch a shortboard wave, and here comes us on our 9 and 10
Larry
footer.
Longboard.
Yes, Ooh, here we come
I call
down.
everybody Larry Longboards. Come here, Larry. Of course, all my friends run longboards,
Yeah.
most of them anyway. But
I just took up shortboarding again, and I'm not any good at it, but it's challenging. It's harder to do. I find out harder to paddle. But once you get away, man, you're zippity doo dah. It's kind of fun.
it's a lot of fun, like
Yeah,
a
it really
skate
is.
park. But speaking of that, talking about paddling out in Texas, that's one thing that I can appreciate about Texas surfers is if you and when I say this, it's going to sound kind of arrogant, but it's not meaning to be. If you can surf Texas, you can surf anywhere. And what I mean by that is we have wind swell crap chop most of the time that comes from 5 different directions at a 5-second period swell. You go to Costa Rica, Mexico, anywhere else, Brazil, Peru, anywhere south, or even California or Florida on a good storm swell. They've got the 11, 15, 16-second swells, which has more power, gets you upright faster. You can go down the wave. You can just do more with it. So it's amazing to me when you see these young guys from Texas that surf here 10, 15 years, and they go to Mexico and just kill it. And then the locals go, hey, where are you from? And they say Texas, and they're like,
Freak out.
yeah, like, what? You're from where? You surf There's no surf in Texas, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, I would say I always tell people that too. If you, it's harder to catch a wave here a lot of times, right? You got to paddle harder. It's harder to get out here. Different places in Texas. Corpus has a terrible rip, right? They have a crazy, and we have one too, but they have a crazy rip sometimes when the surf is good. Usually when our rip is bad, the surf not really that great. Sometimes. So, and here's the other thing too. Because I ride mostly, I've turned myself into a longboarder kind of. I think I'm kind of a lazy paddler, so I just decided to ride a longboard. But you know, when it's kind of choppy and kind of mushy, you can have a little more fun still on a shortboard, right? You know, like you can find little pockets, but on a longboard, man, it's kind of crappy. You know, you don't want to, you know, you can get that long wave,
Yeah,
but we kind, you know,
yeah.
that's the way I feel like sometimes, right? Because
Yeah.
you can find those big chunky spots out in Surfside or in different places here.
Yeah,
you know,
true.
so that's one good thing about a shortboard. But it's
Man,
it's
I
a
know
lot
guys,
more. It's a lot more work. You
There's
know,
guys that only surf a shortboard. They're never going to have another board, and they're out here all the time doing fairly well. So
yeah, we got like
Well,
you know,
longboarding, honestly, in Texas is well. Let's just go back Surfside. This local break here, longboarding is probably the way to go. You're going to catch more waves. Your wave count's going to be higher. It's easier to stand up on, especially beginners. I get frustrated a lot as a shorter boarder or mid-length, whatever you want to call it. I consider it shortboard because I'm a fat dude. So, you know,
think so.
no, I'm a big fat dude. So it's a shortboard to me when it's 6'10" to 7 foot. But other people are like, oh, that's a big mid-length, you know. And in fact, when we were in Costa Rica, Carlo Medina and Noah, one of them, Carlo rode both my boards, or Noah rode one and Carlo rode my other 6'10", and it was like a longboard to them.
oh man, they're no, you know, I got a board I'm working on for Noah right now, and it's like tiny, and he's a big guy, right?
He's tall.
He's tall. I mean, he's
Yeah.
not a big guy, but he's tall, and he's got, you know, he's
He's a
built
tall
good,
boy. Yeah, he's
so. I was like, man, you're riding that little bitty board, yeah. So
Yeah.
that was probably like a longboard for him.
yeah, a lot more volume than what he's used to. But I outweigh him by 50 pounds too.
Right.
So
yeah,
But-
I mean it's just amazing. I mean, I'm when you go to like see a TGSA event and you see some of these shortboarders that are in their prime. Guys, it's like watching WSL. Some of these guys, and you know, like from 25 to 45, they're in their prime, and they're just ripping and tearing on those shortboards, and it's impressive.
I think that a lot of guys, you know, can look good. Like, I'm not going to say it's like easy to go somewhere and look good in like Costa Rica or Mexico or whatever, but like if you surf here and you're okay on a shortboard and you go there, you're like, hey, I'm pretty good, man. And then
you can find a wave.
yeah,
Yeah,
you're like, man, I'm pretty good, you know. But then there's guys here, you know, like we were talking about, like Gabe and some of those other guys that, man, they just take these little, you know, small little crumbly waves and make something out of nothing. You
A
know, and I
skateboard
think
ramp.
that takes, and like you were saying, so if they go somewhere else, imagine how. If I think I'm good there, imagine how good they are. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you
So-
got Joe Hoffman, Scott Hendricks.
Yep.
I mean, there's so many more. Stefan, Gabe,
Yeah.
Cruz Mac. You know, a lot of people know this from TGSA and stuff, but there's so much talent out in the water, and when you see them on a legit wave, you're just like, wow.
You know, it's funny. A lot of people will write into Austin. We're flattered because we have people from daggum New Zealand, Japan, Venezuela that somehow find us another. And one of the big questions that they ask him is, I can't believe y'all surf there. How do you do it? Where do you do it? Am I
well, I
right?
mean, it's Texas, so they don't. First of all, they're not thinking about there's even waves here. You
They
know,
don't know
so
we surf down here.
We have cow pastures.
Yeah, cowboy hats.
We have Waco.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
well,
Waco.
I'd say that Waco. A lot of people are coming. A lot of people are coming to Waco to surf from, man, all over the.
Last time
all
I
over
was
the
there,
world.
we had a couple pros from Brazil, and there was a California pro there that were working on a certain maneuver, and they had got like 6 sessions a day just working on one maneuver. So it's a legit wave, and then when they do that expert wave, it's legit. I mean, the takeoff's fast, but you've got to be mad at the surf in Texas to be a surfer here and have a good time. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got to be mad at it.
You really do, man.
Yeah.
That is so true.
You know, and thinking about too, I was thinking about the longboards. Going back to that, most longboards you see, a lot of them did ride shortboard back in the day too. You know, but older age, injuries, and then you have guys like Woody, Mark Westmoreland. They ride those guns when they go to Pasquale's or Nicaragua, and they have no fear.
It's unbelievable. Mark was just in here a while ago.
Yeah,
He's getting
yeah.
a
was he?
Yeah. He's getting Cunningham's going to shape him a
9-foot gun.
9-foot gun. Yeah.
Look, I'll tell you a story real quick about Nicaragua. We'll get off that subject. I went down there with him in May a couple years ago, and I like big surf. Me and you caught Hurricane Lee in Florida, and that was 11 to 15 foot probably outside the pier.
Serious?
And, yeah, it was. I mean, it was heavy wave, and I was riding my pulled in fish, a little bit 7.6 pulled in fish, and it was almost under gun for the drops. But me and Jeff were out there, and so I got to Nicaragua with Mark, and the tide started coming in. It was a legit 6 to 10 foot day maybe, and I was taking off on the smaller waves at Panga drops. I kid you not. Those waves got up to 15 to 20 feet, and I had to go out on the shoulder to get back in. And Mark is taking drops on this longboard, like no fear.
No.
I don't. From Texas too.
No, him,
I mean,
Woody, Mike
Woody.
Myers, those guys have
Oh,
zero
legends.
fear.
Yeah, Mike's a
Long-
charger. Yeah, all those guys. Woody,
John Jones.
John Jones.
John Jones
too.
is
They'll
another.
ride the big ones. I knew pretty early on in my career I was not going to be a big wave surfer.
I don't know, Jeff. I've seen you drop.
Well,
some
I mean,
big ones, bro. Hey, respect's there, brother. I saw you in Florida on some of the
But
biggest
I'm
waves.
not
we surfed.
Westmoreland. I'm not willing to put myself into 8 to 10 foot beach break type nuttiness, man. I'm just not there. But I have nothing but for those guys, man.
Just not mad at like that. Like Kyle Kelly, I went to Mexico with him one time, and me and him were dropping in 10-foot just dry barrels and getting work. Now you're not going to catch me doing that.
No, right. You age out of that
Yeah,
kind
I mean,
of
you're
nonsense.
not gonna heal the same. And that's what we were talking about. That's what we were talking about earlier. And I said, man, I was like, I just can't afford to get hurt. And who's gonna do all the bunch of the stuff you got to do? You know, what I'm saying? Maybe if I was like retired and I could afford to, if I got hurt, I didn't have to do any work. I could.
I always like saying I break easy and heal slowly. So
Well, the
cautiously.
age and wisdom. So some of those older guys on longboards, they probably have more wisdom than we do on the shortboards in Texas. I
You
mean,
wonder, man. I
Yeah.
swear, man.
yeah.
Oh
Anyway.
God, man! You know what's fun about this podcast? We can talk about any dadgum thing we want.
Hey,
That's what we love about it. We have no format.
And I mean,
we just go with
the
it.
fact
So
that
great.
we're getting people, leaving comments with different subjects and wanting to talk about different things, and we got people, like you said, from all over the globe.
All
and
over the globe,
A lot
which is
of, a lot of
strange.
people, in Texas, and then we're finding out there's people that they don't surf. And they're watching it
Yeah.
just because they want to learn about some surfing. We're gonna hopefully pretty soon we'll throw a little fishing report in there.
We
something
are
like
going to
that.
do a
So,
fishing report.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
You
we
know.
had a guy come in the other day. Goes, yeah, I watch those podcasts. I'm a fisherman. I don't even surf. I go, well, that made me think. Well, let's put a fishing.
Well, you
report.
put the tides in and what the Solinger table is doing, the
Yeah.
lunar and all
Hey,
that.
Don't
Yeah,
wait,
we wanna
wait
do
till I
that.
get good at the whole editing stuff, and we have all the
My producer
different
is
stuff here.
hard
Yeah.
at work all the time trying to.
We're
get
still
this
looking.
stuff.
We're still looking for a free producer.
Yeah, come on in,
And we
show
can't
us
pay,
stuff.
and has to do a lot of work. So.
We're paying surfboard wax.
Well, I've watched all y'all's episodes, and I watched the last one I was in Costa Rica, and I'm telling you, you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you,
I know
man.
we kicked this around over a year ago, and we
did.
talked about it. I don't have time, so I appreciate you guys doing
Yeah,
it.
actually, that's true. That's why we held
Yeah.
out to make sure that Officer Dudley was our first guest because
Yep.
he was kind of the originator of the idea, and we tossed it around, and Austin had the place, and
Y'all made it happen, man.
we
I
somehow
mean,
made it happen, and we're grateful for everybody. So please tune in, share, subscribe, and what else? Facebook.
Subscribe, and share.
We're on some stuff.
We're on
man.
YouTube. So we got a YouTube, and we're on Spotify. That's where everybody's catching us. But if you go to Facebook, everybody, the links on Facebook and Instagram, everybody's going to the Facebook page and making a lot of posts and comments and stuff like that. So we just been sharing it. We got people from all over the place. But
Which is crazy, man.
We're going to try to do. We were kicking this around. What do you think? We're thinking about doing a live broadcast from the next surf contest.
that would be cool.
Yes.
That-
Be ready because there'll be times I just go like this, and you'll be in for a long period of time.
We'll-
You'll be
That's-
there for
that's
like
fine.
15, 20 minutes. We'll be grabbing
Yeah.
surfers to come do it. So
Yeah, that'd be kind of fun. I
It
think.
would be.
Real quick, I think before we go, I want to say a couple things. I think Morgan, let's see.
Yeah,
Morgan
yeah,
sent me
yeah.
some stuff real quick. And it was
Morgan
kind
Faulkner.
and it was about the, they do that Texas surf camps.
Yeah, you talk about a guy that can surf.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't mention him earlier, but yeah, he's one of those legend dudes too. So
Yeah,
He is a pleasure to watch
I've been in
surf.
a couple of heats against Morgan. I was like, man, this isn't fair. What am I doing? So Morgan's a great surfer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So he was just wanted to let me know that the Lone Star Surf Series is fixing to come out, right? And
That's
for
true.
that's one they have just for the kids.
That's for kids.
Right. He told me that they're going to have points this year to qualify them for the finals at Waco.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, wow.
That
Right.
is great.
And that's there's going to be limited spots, and there's all kinds of out of state surfers wanting to do that. So that's a big thing. So sign up for the Lone Star Surf Series. You got some kids. You got some kids out there. Sign them up.
Yeah.
And then get there. They get enough points. They can just go to Waco. So
Exactly. That's
it's
the
good.
bonus at the end of it. So
Yeah.
if you're an
And-
up and comer, man, get into that.
It'll be good. And then he said, they're going to have they're going to launch their the Texas surf camps.
Yep,
You
that's
know?
happening here. And
So-
they're coming to Surfside, where
Yeah.
that is a free contest for boys and girls. If you've never been in a surfing contest, just kind of want to learn about it. You have to have no skill at it at all. They bring you out and they show you the ropes, and so that Texas surf camp's a cool thing. Yeah.
Yeah, he said there's registration is opening March 3rd.
Okay,
So
good.
So it's, I guess it's open.
Yeah, Morgan and his wife Brittany, they do a good job with that. So we try to stand behind them and get people to come to Surfside and enjoy this place.
Yeah,
You got anything else? See, I don't want this to end because I got to ask Dudley something. What's your quick answer to leash, no leash?
Oh boy, this is always
We've got a lot of people writing in
this is
about
a whole nother podcast.
Yes,
but
it is, but
I'll keep it brief because I
what's
know
a
you
short
guys.
answer?
Okay, well, I'm a leash guy, but I understand longboarders not wanting to wear a leash because they can maneuver stuff. But the problem I have is, and one of our own, Rick Morris got hit in the head by who knows who hit it. I don't even think he saw it coming.
Right.
It's just dangerous, and Galveston has a leash law, believe it or not.
They do.
In the
We
water.
recently found that out.
Yes.
That's why I told Brett that's where the beginner should go.
Well, yeah. Oh, them Northern Galveston guys are going to hate us.
They will.
Yeah.
We sent
Yeah.
all beginners there.
Yeah,
I,
they're
lo-
gonna,
I love you, Brett.
yeah. Brett Hopkins be like, "Well, you jerks."
But yeah, no. I understand because I am. It took me forever to become a longboarder. I refused it. I was like, I'm a shortboarder, and then one day I was a longboarder, and then I was a logger, right? So now I mostly ride a single fin 50-50 board. That's what I ride most of the time. I don't wear my leash if it's not dangerous. If the waves are clean and I can control my board and it's not super crowded, where I'm going to surf. Because I'm not going to surf. I'm generally not surfing with everybody. I'm going to be loud and everybody's going to go away from me anyway.
You do have
But,
a tendency
You
to
are
scare
allowed
him.
in the water.
That's
I
why
always
like-
know when you're out there. It's, Austin's out here.
You surf near him
It's
just because he'll scare everybody off.
It's a strategy. It's a strategy we have. So
That's what it is.
So I don't want to wear. I don't want to wear a leash on that because I'm doing this thing. And I would say this too. Part of it is it's kind of with all those guys who don't wear leashes. It's a little bit of a pride thing, I think, right? Because you're like, I'm not out there on my leash. Now, some guys don't put a leash loop at all in their log, and it's cool. But I do because sometimes I want to ride certain boards when I should wear a leash,
Right.
and then I do. On a shortboard, an egg, a fish, I always wear a leash. It's just, it's kind of like you said, you understand. But yeah, what I tell people when they're learning, I say, you should always, always, always wear your leash. The goal is to one day be good enough on longboard. You don't have to wear your leash. Always wear your leash.
Well, yeah. I mean,
So-
there you go. It's experience again. I've seen
Right.
guys that Chris, is his last
Chris
name?
Myers.
No.
Briars?
Chris Briars.
Chris Byers, yeah.
Great skater, great surfer.
surfer.
He rides longboard most of the time, but he will get on a little fish that he's got, that old school fish.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
got a little fish.
Phenomenal. He's just got
Yeah.
such great. I wish I had style like him, but sometimes he don't wear a leash, but he controls that board. But I've seen other guys that I guess emulate him or want to be like him, and their boards end up on the rocks. And I mean, your board gets dinged up too, and then
Right.
it's just a missile, man. And so I'm a big leash guy, but I'm not a longboarder.
No, but I'm going on record as saying the leash will save your life.
If you're out, you gotta. It's just like anything else. You gotta know. You're not gonna. You gotta know when to wear a leash or not. But I think everybody out there should. You should never tell anybody. People know when they can wear a leash. That there's guys. You're right. There is people out there that are trying not to wear leashes. That
Right.
that they lose their board. I mean, like. I'm never claiming to be like the best surfer out there, but like I very rarely lose my board. If I lose my board,
Right.
it's like right at the edge or right there. So it happens. It's happened.
Well,
but-
and something to think about. This happened to me last year. Actually, me and Johnny McGee were early morning. We were the only ones out because we have an open schedule. We can surf together. And my stupid cord at the back where the plug is, the leash cord, it came loose, broke, whatever. And my board was gone. And I don't usually grab my board because I have a leash, right? I had to swim in 300 yards. If you don't swim, we can surf, but if you don't swim,
Totally different.
and if panic can set in, there's all these things that can happen. I'm okay in water. I'll float. Like I said, I'm pretty fat, so I can float. But there's just we had. I'm not going to call out. We had another surfer that I think Austin, you helped get in, and then we helped that same surfer. The leash broke and board was gone, and it was a real big rough day, and it was just like, oh my gosh, they could have drowned just because. And they're surfers, they're experienced, but You
Well,
know,
that can happen to anybody.
it's the safety net.
Yeah.
You know, because you're used to, I'll grab my board. As soon as you lose that, a panic can set in, and that's when you get in trouble. And I
Absolutely.
don't think people prepare for that. And
Being a beginner, it's double.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I think I always tell people, even with their leash on, like surf like you don't have a leash. Like you should wear your leash, but like surf like you don't have a leash. Don't use your leash for like a safety
Right.
net. Try to control your board. So,
Right.
but yeah, I think so. I'm gonna give. I don't want to miss anybody. We always make sure we get everybody out
Try
here.
to.
I want to also say that one more thing, Erin from SPI.
Yes.
She hit me up too about their summer camp registration is going to start March 14th. Oh no, March 1st. I'm sorry.
That's cool.
It's going to start March 1st, so it started too. She's going to have the surf camps this year. Introducing, they're going to have bay sports. So they're going to have SUPs, kayaks, fishing, and all kinds of stuff too. So Erin,
Excellent,
she runs a great surf camp. Down
She
there,
really
so.
does. She's a great gal, and she's got people down there working for her. That Jacob Burks is one of the guys, and man, that's a great weekend trip. Maybe you can get away with your family and just take off 3 or 4 days down to South Padre Island, especially this time of year.
We're gonna have to do a camp. We're gonna have to do a
Great.
camping trip down to like
That'd be
Boca,
fun.
Boca or
Yeah,
something like
we
that.
definitely do. Well, one thing I want to say about Officer Bryan Dudley is we thank you very much for being here, my brother. It's always a
Hey,
pleasure.
I'm so glad y'all had me, and it was my pleasure. To
And,
be
and
here.
listen, you will be the only guest that has carte blanche. In other words, you can pop in anytime and just jump on in. And
Well, I
give
put you
it-
on headlocks. That's why.
Yeah, that's
Don't let
what
them
it
fool
is,
you.
man.
I have VIP because I put them in headlocks.
Yeah.
Don't
That's
let 'em.
it. That's it. So we're so grateful to have the commish himself here on as our first guest. And so I always like to leave it with this. Thank you, Austin Campbell, for lending
Thank
us this beautiful facility where you can literally come to this surf shop. Can you believe this? You can buy a fin screw all the way up to a 10-2 right there on that rack. Love everybody.
All right,
Peace
guys.
out.
Peace out.